Greetings, Joseph Kursky here with you to talk about maps as representations of reality, the deciduous-coniferous tree line. Now, one of our themes that run through the book, The GIS Guide to Public Domain Data, is that maps are representations of reality, right? Even this map behind me. While almost everyone reading this statement is likely to agree with it, in this fast-paced world that GIS analysis and creating maps has become, it's easy to lose sight of this fact when staring at tables, maps, and imagery. In this video, I discuss one place where care needs to be made in making decisions based on spatial data. In the video, observe my surroundings as I stand near the traditional line that divides the deciduous forest to the south from the coniferous forest to the north in North America. Is the line really a line at all, or is it better described as a gradual change from deciduous to coniferous as one travels north? Is that vector line then better symbolized as a zone or represented as a zone? Or is vegetation better mapped as a raster data set with each cell representing perhaps the percentage of deciduous versus coniferous trees? Also, I want you to think about the following. How many other data sets do we tend to see as having firm boundaries when the boundaries are not really firm at all in reality? How does that affect the decisions we make with those boundaries? Even the boundary between wetlands and open water were originally interpreted based on land cover data or a satellite or aerial image. As we state in our book, The GIS Guide to Public Domain Data, even contour lines were often interpreted originally from aerial stereo pairs, and each data set was collected at a specific scale with certain equipment and software at a specific date and within certain margins of error that the organization that collected it established. Maps are representations of reality. They are incredibly useful, representations to be sure, but care needs to be taken when using this or any abstracted data. Thanks.
Hi there. I'm standing near the line that is shown on most maps as being between the coniferous trees and the deciduous trees, or the coniferous forest versus the deciduous forest. Indeed, I'm in northwestern Wisconsin, and on most maps there is this line north of which is this coniferous forest, and south is the deciduous forest. Now, as you can see, though, it is not really a line at all. It's rather a mixture, isn't it? Even right here where this supposed line is, there are some coniferous here, but there's also deciduous. So the point is to be careful about your interpretation of maps. Oftentimes, we draw lines, points, and polygons on maps to distinguish rivers and cities and lakes, for example, or land use. But these maps are generalizations of reality, right? We simplify things just because the natural world is rather complex, as you can see just with this simple example. So maybe the line between the coniferous and the deciduous forest here in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, etc., is really better represented as a raster data set. For example, this particular cell, let's say it's 30 meters by 30 meters. Maybe this one, as I'm walking into the coniferous right now, maybe it's 80% coniferous and 20% deciduous. But that patch of ground that I was standing at earlier, maybe that's just the opposite. Maybe it's 80% deciduous and 20% coniferous. Certainly, as we walk north from here, we'll have 85, 90%, 95%, and eventually get into 100% coniferous. So the natural world is rather complex. We make sense of the natural world by showing that data, that natural environment on maps, so we can make sense of the world. But remember that maps are just representations of reality. They're very useful representations, but we have to use caution into thinking about what kinds of format the data is actually represented in. So, just something to think about as you interpret maps and think about the natural environment. Thanks.